If men fear bugs, then who's going to rescue the women from the bugs? When I was growing up, if a woman saw a mosquito, if a woman saw a bee, a wasp, any type of bug, she would run and scream. She would run, she would scream, she would get behind a man, and the man will kill the bug because he's the man and he fears nothing. But nowadays, guys scream louder when they see a bug. A bug flies around a guy's head and he starts screaming louder than a woman. He starts fanning the bug, fanning the air and running, not wanting the wasp or the bee to sting him. And I understand that it hurts and there's people that's allergic to the bugs. But you're supposed to be a man. Now, when I was growing up, and I think the reason why you find so many males are afraid of bugs now is because there's a lot of young men or young males that's growing up without learning nature. When I was a child, we used to turn over rocks. We play outside, turn over rocks. We see all kind of different bugs, worms, snakes, beetles, and they had these bugs that we call lightning bugs, and they probably still around somewhere. Every now and then you may see a lightning bug, and we used to have a jar, and we would, put foil on top of the jar and maybe poke a few holes thinking that the bugs need to breathe, right? So we poke some holes on the top of the foil so that the bug can breathe, and we put grass in there, and we go out and we try to catch lightning bugs. We try to catch grasshoppers. Even in the schools when they had the field trips, they used to take us to like different state parks and we were in tune with nature. They would show us different snakes and, grasshoppers and beetles and bugs and birds and things of that nature. And so as a child, when we outside playing, we may see a snake. We may see a garden snake, an earthworm, or something to that effect. But when it comes to like grasshoppers and beetles, like ladybugs, we call them, lightning bugs, we put grass in a jar and we put those bugs in there. We weren't afraid to touch bugs. We weren't like the young dudes that's growing up now that act like girls when we were growing up. We can't touch it. It's just like when you go fishing. There was a time where women wouldn't even touch a worm. They wouldn't even worm their own hooks. A guy had to worm their hooks because they didn't want to touch the icky bugs. They thought the bugs were icky. Nowadays, you have guys that's growing up in this information age, in this technological age. They're growing up with a cell phone in their hand or an iPad and not even in front of television, And so they're growing up and they have lost touch with nature. As a matter of fact, they never had a relationship with nature. The only people that you really see that's in touch with nature are people that go fishing. If you have a father or even your mother nowadays that take you fishing, that's you're in touch with nature. That's a portion of being in touch with nature. Or if your family go hiking, if they have like a camp out on the lake and they go hiking, or if you're in the Boy Scout, Girl Scout, whatever. But in the hood, especially in the black community, black children do not and not in touch with nature. They don't grow up like normal children used to grow up. And you find that a lot of white families out in the suburbs, they're more in touch with nature because they go camping and scouting and things of that nature. But in the black community, black people are not in touch with nature. So now you have these dudes that's growing up more feminized than the women. And they're afraid of bugs. I remember when I was little, I had to be about maybe 8 years old. And I think there was like a bee that got in the car, right? And it was like me and my sisters, my brother. And when the bug got in the car, now when a bunch of girls start screaming, sometimes that kind of rub off on the dudes, and dudes start yelling too. Notice I said yell, we don't scream, right? So dudes start yelling too, and we weren't yelling, but we were just like fanning because the bee was in the car. All of a sudden, it's like the bug landed on the car, right? On the front dashboard, right? My brother-in-law, right? He took his hand while he was eating, because he was a Muslim, right? He was like with the black Muslims. They used to call it something else back then. It wasn't the Nation of Islam, right? But he took his hand and just pop hit that dashboard, and just kind of like grind his hand on the bug, killed it, took some napkins, wiped his hands off, and kept eating, right? See, he wasn't afraid of that bug, right? So we grew up in an age, man, like where young people weren't afraid of bugs, man. We weren't afraid to go out there and turn over rocks, and or we out there just playing with our little cars on the sidewalk or whatever in the grass. We liable to see like a bug or a frog, man. We'll catch a frog and put him in a jar. Little things like that. But now young people don't do that. So when those young dudes, those young boys grow up to be men, they are afraid of bugs. And you have guys that's afraid of bugs more than women are. They would scream, not yell, but they would scream louder than a woman would if a bug come around them. They start making noise like, they start doing that nonsense, running from the bee, right? So if men are afraid of bugs, who's going to rescue the woman? Now, think about it, guys. You with your woman, you're sitting there, you trying to impress this young lady, and you're sitting there like all cozy. Next thing you know, she see a mosquito, a bug, and she start panicking, right? What you gonna do? Now, dudes start panicking, you start panicking, and your girl sitting there looking at you, right? That's what I meant to say. You start panicking, your girl sitting there looking at you like, you afraid of a bug, right? And you running, and she's sitting there, and then she take like maybe a newspaper and swat the bug and kill him. Now she saved you. That's not the way it's supposed to be. You were supposed to be the hero, and you were supposed to save that woman. You weren't supposed to run from that bug. Now, lately we've been seeing some really weird bugs for like the last several years, right? And I think next year, especially next summer, we're going to even see some even crazier bugs. And the reason why I think that is because with these hurricanes, right? These record-breaking hurricanes, with all that wind and that water coming from like the islands, from Africa, that's pushing all of those exotic bugs up this way, right? So when those high, those 100, almost 200, wind come up this way, it's pushing all those bugs up this way. So then don't be surprised, like next year we see some really, 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 really crazy looking bugs. Now, like last year, the year before last, we started seeing those little stink bugs up here in New York, right? They call them stink bugs, but I ain't never smelt them, And they're real submissive too, because they make noise when they fly. And you got dudes, man, that would run out of their room. They hear one of them stink bugs, they would run out of their room, and they will not sleep in their room because they heard a stink bug in there, right? They running from the bug, right? And those bugs are harmless, because once they land, you could take a piece of toilet paper and pick him up, and he don't even try to run. Just pick him up with that tissue, flush him down the toilet, right? But while he's in that tissue, you kind of squeeze him to kill him. Throw it down the toilet stool, right? But you got dudes, man, that won't sleep in their room because that stink bug is flying around in there and they're afraid of that bug. It wasn't like that when I was growing up. When I grew up, man, we played with the bugs. We try to capture them and put them in jars and stuff like that. The lightning bugs we put in a jar, and at nighttime we would till the lights are out, and you see them flying around in there lighting it up. Their tail would light up, right? But nowadays, man, dudes are afraid of bugs, man. Women are braver or more heroic, and that's not the word I want to use, but women are more brave than men. Because you got dudes that's afraid of bugs, they're afraid of worms, but then you got the women that would take these big pythons and wrap them around their neck. And then when they walk towards a dude with that python, what the dude do? He run. Nah, get away from me with that. Right? So you got dudes running from pythons. Women got pythons around their neck. Women are a lot more braver than men are now. And that's sad. But like I said, next year we're going to see some even stranger bugs. And remember I told you this. Next year we're going to see some stranger bugs because with these hurricanes and all these storms, they're pushing them, up this way from Africa all over the ocean, Atlantic, Pacific. They pushing all them bugs this way. All them. There's a term I want to use, man. It's not coming out because every time you ever try to say something, and then every time I get ready to come out, it leaves you. But anyway, all those bugs are being pushed this way, right? So we're gonna start seeing some really, really, really strange bugs. Like, what is that? I have never seen anything like that before. And then the scientists got to try to figure out what they are and put the information out there and tells you like, well, this is what it can do. It can either hurt you or it can't hurt you, right? But we're gonna start seeing a whole lot of those bugs next year, bugs that we have never seen before up in this area, right? But the point of this video is, dudes, fellas, y'all gotta stop. You gotta take your place again in the home. Men have lost their place in the home. A lot of males, and I refer to them as males, a lot of males have lost their manliness. They can't call themselves men. Even if you got a woman, I don't care how many kids you have, I don't care how many wives you have, you live in a polygamous relationship or a marriage or whatnot, and you calling yourself a man, you are not a man if you are afraid of a bug. If your woman have to save you from a bug, you are not a man at all. You are a coward. So I thought I'd make this video, and listen, there's a lot of dudes out there that's going to make excuses. They're going to be like, oh, I'm allergic to it. And, just, you know what? Your first step to healing is admittance. So the minute you admit that you are afraid of bugs, you are on your way to recovery. They should have a Bug Anonymous. They should have some type of recovery system for dudes that's afraid of bugs. Dudes that have never played with bugs when they were little. It's okay to let your little sons play with birds. We used to take like little worms, right? We go outside and we see like a little garden snake or earthworm, and we take a stick and pick him up, right? And we run it towards the women, and they be running. The girls be running. They be screaming. We be chasing them and whatnot, because we really like the girls, right? We like the girls, so, we had a strange sense of thinking back then because we thinking like if I scare her, that's going to scare her into submission. It's like the dudes sitting in class, man, throwing spitballs, right? They don't know nothing about that nowadays. Spitballs, or you pulling the girl's hair, you doing little things, not realizing that's annoying her. But we did it because of the fact we liked her. Right? So we had a little worm on a stick and we chased the girl and she running, she's scared. And we like, and the girls were afraid of scared. Now, everything reversed. And now if you put a worm on a stick and chase a dude, he gonna run regardless of how big he is. You got this 6'5" dude, man, bodybuilder, running. That looks funny. A 5 foot something, a 6'5" bodybuilder running from a little bug. He running about to break his neck because he see a little mosquito or a fly. So, dudes, it's time to get your manhood back. Manhood is not about making all these babies and you can't take care of them. Manhood is not about you killing each other or you ready to jump up and fight somebody because they disrespected a queen, right? That's not manhood. Your first step to manhood is go back to your childhood. Get in touch with your nature. Don't raise your little sons to be punks, man, and afraid of bugs, right? How you gonna take your child fishing and you're afraid to put a worm on a hook? Your woman got to come and put the worm on the hook for you because you're afraid. Where there was a time when the man put the worm on the hook because the woman was afraid. Now you got women that's braver than men, that's not afraid of bugs, that would do what my brother-in-law did and take her hand and smash the bug with her hand with no second thought. Now you still have a few women that's afraid of bugs, right? And those are usually like the feminine women, like the little cute women that's women that haven't lost their womanhood yet, right? But those masculine females that grew up around dudes, those thuggish females, man, listen, they'll smash a bug with a hand or get a newspaper or magazine while the dude is running and hiding. he running and hiding in the closet because there's like a mosquito. He talking about, and they gonna use the excuse, I'm allergic to him. Man, I'd blow up if I get stung by a mosquito. You kill him. You bigger than he is, right? So, feedback, tell me what you think. Subscribe. Until next time, I'm fearless. And stop being afraid of bugs.